we will never, ever be a part of Russia. We've been fighting this for centuries, and we need your help to make sure that we're never there again.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to my Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Thank you. Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 183. I'm talking to Lana Lagvilava. She is from Tbilisi. We're going to talk about some of the goings on in her home country of Sakartvelo, or as some Americans call it, Georgia. It's a wonderful place. I really get a lot of emotion after I see these protests on screen. And she's going to tell us a little bit about the background of this and how all this is coming right now. How are you, Lana?
Hi again, Chris. Well, and thank you for your kind attention. It's always very supportive, your posts, your messages and everything, your comments. It means a lot for us because we feel a little bit isolated right now because of our local government. Situation is very hard. Yes, and as you already know, a few days ago I turned just 40. I started realizing what kind of country Georgia and what kind of situation from political view we have from age of 5. So can you imagine that 35 years I'm already seeing this and I'm realizing the whole situation, what's going on in my country, which is always connected to our personal life, because without this connection, we cannot exist in the country. But now, from my 35 years of experience, I can assure you that we have the most hardest days in our country's life, at least about 40-45 years. After Soviet Union was collapsed, it's the most hardest time we are having right now. And situation is getting worse. Yes, this is very briefly what I can do. I'm full of emotions, and these emotions are exchanging each other. Firstly, it was anger, and then it was a little bit fear, and now it's frustration. We don't know what will be even tomorrow, a few days after, and so on. And this is really, really hard to understand and to follow and to remain as a human being, as a kind human being here.
Yeah, let's. I always like to go back. Let's just start. You were born when it was still basically a Soviet republic. What's happened, since then? I mean, obviously, you certainly know something about what's happened during your life, right? What can you tell us from, say, then till now?
To be honest, so many things were changed and changed dramatically and in a best way for our country, for our life. I was born in 1984. It's a very from George Orwell's connection.
Yes.
I have, and I love very much my birth year. And then was completely different situation. We didn't know what kind of movies, for example, were produced in USA and what kind of country USA was. And I remember that I was dreaming one day just to see USA, not in real life, but in the movie or in the TV or something, because the only programs we had, it was only Russian programs. And there were some rumors that this kind of country is existing and there are European countries and so on. Everybody knew about Russia, but I didn't have any person seen in my childhood who has seen USA or European country. So can you imagine what kind of situation it was from my as a child, as a kid's perspective? I was dreaming to see something different than this Russian program in TV. And after that, in early 19s, when my teenaging age started, um, already was collapsed Soviet Union, and we tried as a country to become independent. But this independence was connected to Russia, so we wanted to be independent from Russia. And will lead to the situation where we didn't have any kind of independence. We stayed with one separated part of country, and other country was completely collapsed. What I mean, we have Abkhazia. I guess you already know this from our country's history, and this part, which is the most beautiful part of our country, is occupied by Russia. And it started in this early 19th. And other part of Georgia, we didn't have any kind of resources to survive, food, sometimes water. I grew up in the village, that's why I had water, but we didn't have any kind of soap, and we didn't have sugar, and so many stuff for daily life. After that, it was 2000s, where Georgia started to a waking period, we can say. And in 2003, we had a Rose Revolution. Maybe you have heard about it.
Yes.
And yes, when our post-Soviet style government representative and former president, who was very terrible person, he just quit, and without injuring even one person, he left his position. And his very famous words are, "Where are you going, Mr. President?" And he answered, "I'm going to home." And that's how he just left his position. And after that started some kind of, we already knew what's going on around, and what kind of countries we have in the world, and how the good life sounds and seems, and so on. And after that, 2012 came, when people decided to change existing government. And that period also, yes, before 2012, we had some kind of protests against current government. But we cannot compare, even I don't like comparing tragedies and injured persons amount and so on, but we didn't have such amount of, how to say, Protestants at least, the amount of people who don't want their government for that time. And after that, it's been already 12 years. The only political party is governing Georgia. And I'm sure that you know what's happening when the power is concentrated and is under the government of one political party mainly. They have everything and they can do anything. So this one-party government situation lead us to today. This is very, very brief. I think that I was not too worthy. But yes, this is the situation which is today in our country. And now we think that we have even generations, whose grandmothers and grandfathers, grandparents were standing as a Protestants against Russia, and now their grandchildren are protecting independence of Georgia again from Russia.
Yes, and it's interesting now. Even the grandparents are coming out. The people who probably had more life before the Soviet Union. Yeah, there were several changes happen. You changed the flag at one point too, because now you've got the flag of the five crosses that I like to call it. Sometimes I like to call the country the land of the five crosses.
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds
Yes. It's a very easy flag to remember when you see the five red. You got one big cross and then four smaller crosses. But yeah.
Yes, and I personally like it. Have you seen the previous version of flag?
Yeah, that's three colors, I believe.
Yes, three colors, and dominating color is purple, which is mixed to red, which symbolizes blood. And yes, we had really, really bad history. But the last version is more bright and um, makes us, how to say, more positive, and we have some kind of trust of future and etc. Yes, it was very previous version was very dramatic,
Yeah.
and very, very, how to say, we wanted to put everything in the past and to be straight to the future. And also we've changed anthem.
Oh, you changed the national anthem too. Wow, yeah.
Yes, we changed. We had really great and brilliant anthem, but we simplified it. Not the exact lyric, but we created new one, which is much more simple, and we can say that more easy to understand and to sing together.
Yeah, it sounds like you're speaking English. Are most of them learning English now? Because I suspect some of the older generations, if they had a second language, they probably learned Russian, right?
Yes, Russian language, but even now they are trying to learn English also. All generation who tried to. For people who are my age, we didn't speak any Russian, but we all knew, as I mentioned, the only programs we had, it was in Russian. And yes, later years it was mixed with Georgian also. For me, Russian is completely understandable, and I speak, we can say, very well Russian. But of course, I don't use it.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed also is that when I was there, you had most of your signs were in your own Kartvelian alphabet, which is a totally unique alphabet, and then you also had the Latin alphabet, on the signs. So you had your own alphabet and the Latin alphabet, which of course is definitely a way of saying no, we're not using the Cyrillic alphabet, which is the alphabet that the Russians and some other countries use. Yeah.
Yes, and do you know that it has a big history? Yes, we have three different kinds of alphabets, and
Yeah.
the last one we use it widely. But we have additionally two more, and in general three. And as I remember, it was in 1974 or 78. I don't want to be mistaken. And when Soviet Union decided to change and to announce a state language, Russian, or they wanted just to, how to say, abolish, maybe it's a good word, Georgian language as an official language. And so many students were collected and protested this fact. Otherwise, we would have today that Cyrillic alphabet. But fortunately, they did their best. And yes, now we have Georgian alphabet. I'm not sure. This Russian government, what's their plan? Maybe they want to change it to Cyrillic or something. But yeah, for now, still we have our unique Georgian, really very beautiful and nice alphabet.
It is.
You
Yeah, it
mentioned.
is. It is a really pretty alphabet. I mean, it doesn't, and I don't even know where it comes from. It doesn't really look like any other alphabets I've seen. It doesn't look anything like the Armenian alphabet, which is also another completely unique alphabet. It doesn't really look like the Cyrillic, but yeah, it's a, and yeah, you have two countries that use completely unique alphabets. I mean, it's really, yeah.
Yes, and we have very faraway roots of creating alphabet and from mythology and so on. So yes, it's one of the unique and ancient, we can say.
Yeah, is the country pretty much mixed religiously, or is it pretty much, or is it a combination of Orthodox, Muslims, Jews? I know there's a large Jewish community there, and or is it mostly just Orthodox Christians, or because you all still celebrate Easter at a later date than we do in the USA, I believe.
Yes, vast majority in Georgia is Orthodox.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we are not very welcomed to other religion, especially to Muslims, but still we people are peacefully living together, and we don't have anything against to us. But yes, we have some kind of, you can see in the internet, we have some kind of protests against their beliefs, their churches, and so on. But dominating is Orthodox. Yeah, most people.
Yeah, it's dumb. Yeah, that's just one of the because it still seemed like it was what I really liked is it seemed like your country was very optimistic about the future, but they were still keeping the past alive and keeping keeping things that worked. It looked like it was and I'm optimistic because it seems like you all are looking at the things that have worked in places like America, but you've avoided the things that don't work, and that's hard to do. So how many people were out protesting? I mean, I see pictures in the streets. I mean, people are out there wall to wall. I mean, just take a look at this one, for example. It's so
days or
yeah, I mean, it's just so yeah, it's just, I mean, there's all kinds of people out there just, okay, yeah, there's one. I mean, I think I've got this photo here.
Yeah, people are every day in this, and yes.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at that. Is that on Rustaveli?
Yes, it's Rustav. It's just one small part, a few meters. Have you seen the European square picture?
The European square picture? No. Where is is that near Freedom? Is that Freedom Square? Or is that a different square?
No, not Freedom Square, and it's not Rustaveli. Well, you can search it as a European square, and completely it was full and covered by people.
Yeah.
Very big amount of territory it is, and everywhere people were standing.
Yeah. What's happened there? When you have that many people out, there really isn't a whole lot that the police can do. But I mean, they can ignore you. But I mean, there aren't that many police officers there, right? I mean, they can't arrest everybody when it's that big.
Oh, well, of course they can't, but still they are choosing who are leaders, who are like stakeholders or someone who can just mobilize people or something, and they are catching them in the true meaning of this word, catching them and detaining, arresting, and doing really bad stuff, beating them, of course. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another poster I noticed. You see some European Union flags, and you see some the five cross flag out there. So, what exactly is the thing here? There apparently the government seems to be, in your view, controlled by Russia, and also Saakashvili is in jail now, right? I mean, he's been in jail for a while.
Yes.
I mean, what's your take on Saakashvili? I mean, it sounds like, did he make things better? Did he make things worse? Was he, or
Well, to be honest, he was uh, how to say, yes, he made things really better than we had situation before him. But of course, again and again, concentrating power in one person's hand leads the situation where authoritarianism is starting. This same
yes,
happened with Saakashvili also.
yeah,
And firstly, he tried, no, not firstly, all the time, he tried to be Georgia well known in the world and to spread Georgia's songs and cultural stuff to share among other world. But locally, what he was doing. For example, he wanted to win elections, not the pure amount of votes, but he wanted maximum amount. That's why he was, what kind of. I don't know exactly what word I can use in English. We have. I don't know. Maybe you can help me. When election is frauded, maybe.
when an election might be corrupt, or sometimes we say stolen.
Yes, yes. The same happened when they were stealing voices and they were just circling their own candidates. So he wanted to win not with actual amount of votes, but with the largest amount. Okay, I can still understand that majority is supporting you, but it doesn't mean that if, for example, more than 50% is supporting, you can obtain 60 or more percent voices. It's not fair. So this happened to Saakashvili. From one hand, he tried to be Brighton, Georgia, and from the other hand, the all kind of power concentrated in his hands. Um, yes, it was really damaging, and he was doing really, really bad stuff.
Yeah, this
Yes,
is what
and
happens.
yes, this is what happens to each and every government all the time. But they don't have any kind of fear of anyone, when they don't listen to anyone, and they are governing all these spheres of country.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does, and and it gets even worse in a larger country, because at least in a small country, I mean, you've got what, 7 million people there, something like that.
No, not seven.
Oh,
3.7
okay,
max.
3.7. I was high, but
Yes, yes, and most of Georgians are abroad.
yes,
Maximum 2.3 are here. We are living here, and from here you can exclude kids and people under age of 18. So voters are about maximum 1 million of people.
yes.
No, we are a very small nation. Yes, even our territory is very small. But we have too many, how to say, advantages. We are small country still, but we have many advantages. For example, we have sea here, and we have mountains.
Yeah.
We are very attractive for tourists, and um, if our government was smart and wanted to lead their country to the best future, better future at least, we can offer different kind of economic advantages or something, but no one is thinking about it.
One thing about a smaller country, though, is it's still a lot easier to get close to the president. I mean, if you have a legislature, your legislator is going to represent less people. I mean, a congressman in America now represents probably 800 or 900,000 people. I don't know. I don't know what your parliament or your legislature looks like, but it's a safe bet that the ones in your parliament probably don't represent that many.
Yes. And can you imagine, Chris,
Yeah.
that in Georgia, we should have, yes, it's calculated, and we should have about 50, maximum 70 representatives.
Yeah.
And we have, as I remember, 3 times more than we need, and as it is calculated and logical. So,
Yes.
yeah. Yes, we have representation, not for representation, but everyone protects and supports their own interests. And of course, they want to make their power to protect it. Because the only thing why we have this kind of amount of candidates is that most of them are supporters of current government.
Yeah. So what exactly, if you're talking about Russian, actually also I wanted to get this one up too. This video, let's share it again here. This is probably my favorite video, so
Okay. Waiting.
We're still standing here after 3 weeks with all the power we've got, and this is our scream for you. This is our scream for you to help us, to give us sanction, to do anything that you can do, because our government is not hearing these voices. They're ignoring us, and we need you to appreciate us and to stand next to us, because we will never, ever be a part of Russia. We've been fighting this for centuries, and we need your help to make sure that we're never there again.
Yeah. This is our main message.
Yeah, that she was just really good. She's got this eyeglass, these goggles on her head, like she's out there prepared to fight. Yeah.
Without that stuff, we cannot go outside. It's our main tool for now to protect ourselves.
Maybe people don't know who you are. Yeah. So, what exactly are they trying to do right now? Are they trying to just take orders from Putin, or are they? Or does he just? Does he just want to have? Because what specifically are they trying to do? That you think is that you oppose, or that many of you do oppose right now?
Well, maybe you have heard this Russian law.
Yeah.
What does this Russian law mean? It means that anyone who is, it's from laws wording, anyone who is funded or is under the influence of a foreign state, they are announced as an agent persons. But this agent doesn't mean a real estate agent or professional agent. It means persona non grata, and they can arrest that kind of person or deprive their privacy and etc. Why do they need this? Well, because current government, and this is very obvious for now to see, they don't have much power. And at the end of, or in the beginning of October, we have elections. They have elections. So they don't have any chance to win these elections and be as a majority. So they are facing to lose their power completely or partially. So that's why you know, a few years after coming from changing our government, they were talking to people. You know, your previous government was bad, and if you don't want to return that government, you should choose us. That's why people who hated previous government, they were choosing again and again, but for a few years. But for now, no one is. No one believes this now, because generation changed, because people already started to think that maybe they were bad, but for now they are doing worse. That's why they decided not to vote for them. And the only chance to remain in as a government is that to arrest and to detain all the people who are against them. So for now, they want to accept this law, and today this law was accepted. And in a few weeks, if our president will not stop and abolish this law, it becomes law. And they will start and pick each person who was against them. Against them means your platform's name is Fountainhead, right? And we are very close to Ayn Rand's ideas,
Yes.
and how individualism is very important, not very important, not only very important, but as a key point of existence. And each people who is thinking, who can realize and has some kind of logic, they are against them, because no one will vote their government. That's why the only tool for now they have to still be winners is this law. And yes, that's why. Okay, we completely understand that a foreign state cannot and is not obliged to manage the situation in Georgia, in other country, but still, for example, some restrictions regarding board crossing and some visa issues or
Yeah.
something, they can set as a limitation. It would be very helpful for us, because people who government who is against their people, the only thing they are just doing is their own interest. So if they will restrict it, not to go there overseas or somewhere, and not to do stuff, it means that they will go back or just do things differently. Yes, and this kind of speeches that USA is bad, unfortunately, you can you can hear it, and Europe is not good. Europe deprives Georgian values and so on. This kind of stupid stuff. Every day they were claiming about this. Yes, and despite that fact, everyone is going to Europe to have their vacation. Their kids are born in Europe and USA,
Yeah.
yes, and they are getting best treatment in the best European hospitals, and all of their children are studying in the leading universities abroad. But for other Georgians who are really loving their country and who don't want to be abroad and who want to stay here, they are against them. Yes, and this is our daily life. Can you imagine? This is our daily life.
So
I
you're,
was Yeah, I was discussing this issue with my European friends and
yeah.
colleagues. And they tried to make me relax, and they said, "Oh, we are protesting everything each day and so on." And yeah, it was a little bit relief for me. But after that, I realized that they are protesting something to improve. To improve, it means that you have something basic which you needed for your daily life and you want to improve it. And in Georgia nowadays, we are fighting for this basic. Without this basic, we cannot move forward. We don't exist without this, because we are not allowed to breathe freely, to express our minds freely, and etc. After that, we can demand things like how to get richer and how to be successful and so on. But for now, we are fighting to our basic needs, such as safety, and such as being not arrested and breathe freely. This is our daily fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that some people who like if somebody gets a job in England and they get paid better, they're considered traitors by some people. Is that what you're saying? Or
Well, for example, our conversation, they can count that I am giving some kind of information which you can very freely obtain in the internet, that
yeah,
I am under the influence of foreign state representative, because
yes,
I know what individual right means. I know what kind of how to say what is good life and for what we are living,
yes,
and it's, for example, there are too many foreign organizations, NGOs, and etc. And even they are, as a government, funded from European Union, from some kind of assistance from USA, and etc. But no one is asking, and no one is telling us where all this money go. For example, we as a country received so many funding to fight against coronavirus, and no one knows where. Everyone knows, of course, where this money disappeared and etc. But they are claiming that we need to know how transparent this NGO is, and we don't want to allow this NGO to be a representative of a foreign country's interests. Are this kind of foolish stuff. So, does it make sense for you?
it does make sense. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, when you're such a a country of less than 4 million people, you're going to have to do business with other countries. So it's, I mean, you don't make your own cars. I mean, a lot of the things you use probably have to be imported. Whether it be your dishwashers or your microwave ovens.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, because there's just not enough to support an industrial base, and it just seems. But that also is going to bring about some influence. I mean, people are going to try to lobby and at least get their goods in there. I mean, a lot of countries try to play both sides, but it sounds like you just want to go more toward Europe than you want to go toward Russia, because
Exactly.
Europe, I think, represents a freer country. Although we're making a lot of mistakes here, Lana. I just that's one thing I said. Don't make, do look at the things we do right, but look, and copy those things, but do not. I mean, things like we've got men and women using each other's bathrooms now and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, it seems like to me you still have a country that really values marriage and family, and I don't want to see we don't value those things anymore, and it's eating us, really tearing us apart here, I think. So
Yes, I understand what you were saying, but
yeah,
it's a case of discussion, and I think that Georgia is a little bit more conservative
Yeah.
Well, from us, USA is also conservative because marriage and be religious or that stuff. It seems for us that people are protecting this still. But this is what kind of issues it's above this basic.
Yeah.
We can discuss it, but there is no space to discussion of being free and not to be under someone's under someone's influence or
Yeah.
something from government. Yes, I can understand the things you were talking about. We don't want to copy it, and it doesn't automatically mean that we want to Europe and we want to be a friend of USA. It doesn't automatically mean that there are some issues we are copying. It's a little bit long way from here because we are on this stage when this ground needs we are fighting for this ground we
Yeah.
need. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. And
You
yeah.
have your own issues, your own
Yeah.
problems. Yeah, I can understand, but a little bit different situation is in
Yeah.
front
We
of.
definitely have different problems. I mean, it's interesting too is that you all celebrate Independence Day as the 26th of May, and
Yeah.
that actually goes back to 1918.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well.
Yes, and ironic it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and of course, there was a brief independence period, but then things went wrong there because the Russian military came in. I mean, what is the situation regarding self defense there? I mean, I've said this about all these countries. Every able-bodied adult should own 2 pistols, 1 rifle, and at least 50 bullets for each gun. I say that about Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania too. It just when they cross the border, you don't go out and invade them, but when they cross the border, you shoot them. Uh, what's the situation there? Is it, do you have a lot of gun owners or not?
Well, let me explain in a few sentences. Georgia was the country. We are country of warriors, we can say, but a little bit lazy warriors, and we are not warriors like. Uh, for example, ancient Norwegians or someone they were.
Yes.
But locally, we were a little bit lazy. But because we are on the crossroads between Europe and Asia, we had to be warriors. That kind of warriors we are.
Yes.
But still, Georgian men, no one could imagine Georgian without their old, I don't know, sword. Yes, sword.
Yes.
After Russians came, they decided, and Russians, you know how they are looking at us, that we are wild people. We are very beautiful, but very wild. And they wanted to remake these beautiful but wild people, still beautiful, but
Yeah.
European people. European, but not true European, a little bit Russian. So it means that they decided to deprive us the right of self-defense tool, this sword. After that, our nation unfortunately thinks that Georgia is a country without any kind of a weapon or something to protect themselves. And even more, most people are against to have such kind of guns or pistols or something. I personally support the idea that self defense is equal for me as a right to life. Because without self defense, the life will be deprived from someone. But still, the only person which is very famous political person, he's having, of course, legally. Um, some kind of small which is allowed, and he a few times tried to defend himself, and no one could beat him. Yeah, but people are not supporting this idea of self-defense. No, this is what I don't like about people, and I prefer to be more attentive to this issue. Because Georgians are a very big lover of wine, and after being drunk, this is a saying in Georgia that after being drunk, all Georgians will kill each other. But you know what is interesting? Everyone who loves wine and who is getting drunk all the time are having guns. These are our policemen, which are all the time, most of them are very violent guys, yes, and they are, how to say, not very stable persons. All of them are having. But regular people who will use it only in case of need, no, we don't have.
Yes, certainly.
This is the situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I've even went so far as saying you need to get nukes, but that might be a little extreme. But
Yeah.
But it does send a message. But you all have you all had any wars with the Turks or the Persians as well, or is it mostly just been with the Russians, or at least it seems like this is an area though where those countries meet to fight their wars.
Well, as I mentioned, we are on the crossroad between Europe and Asia, so it's impossible not to be battles and wars between Turkey and other Asian countries. Mongolia, including Arabs, even Tbilisi was occupied for 4 centuries by Arabs. They had their own government and their own rules. They were building their own buildings and etc. But it's 21st century outside, and still the only enemy we are having right now is Russia, because Turkey is also acting as a friend country, and other countries are also, for example, no one cares right now about Mongolia, about China. Well, we care about Arabs, but not in connection with Georgia. So that's why for now we have more or less really good relationship between all other former enemies, but the only enemy still we are remaining and we are having, and I think that we can never imagine ourselves without Russia, without these countries, Russia. Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
because 35 years ago and 30 years ago and in 2008, the only country was fighting against us was Russia, not Turkey, a few years ago. And still our territories are occupied by Russia. Well, you can meet some Georgians who are Russian supporters. That's why they will say, oh, Turkey is also having our territories and they have also occupied. Yes, but before international law was, and at least it was not in 2008. Russia had that time occupied our territories, and Turkey has occupied, well, maybe a century and a half ago, when everyone was occupying everyone's territory. So different rules were acting in that period.
Yeah, having visited Tbilisi and then having visited Yerevan, Tbilisi looked like it was 15 years ahead of Yerevan. I can assume that when you were born, they probably looked, the two cities probably looked somewhat alike, right? Now, obviously I wasn't there, but so it looks like you all certainly did better than your neighbor to the south, Armenia. What have you done to bring in some free market reforms? Because it seems like a a lot of expats talk very positively about your country. They say it's a great place to go, maybe because it's cheap, but they just love what they see there. What can you tell me about that?
Well, it's my personal opinion, and because I'm Georgian, maybe it's not fully objective, but I think that nature plays its role to see our country as it is. Firstly, this. Secondly, maybe we are really beautiful, and it catches someone's eyes, and people are more positive for us. Of course, it doesn't mean that nature is not beautiful and people are not beautiful in other countries, but this is my personal opinion. Thirdly, I think that we really love doing things differently. We are, how to say, our national dances and national songs are very famous because of our movements and because of our voice timbre and etc. That's why Georgia is more likable, or how to say, um, because and because maybe also we have this I don't know. I think that these three things are yes, and nature includes also not nature in Tbilisi, but in different regions. Also, we have, as I mentioned, sea, mountains,
Oh yes,
snow, and it's etc.
yeah,
Yeah, nature is our really good point.
yeah. And if you look at history, people who live in mountains tend to be warriors. It's just much more that way there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's also it's just it they're very good on offense, but they don't really go. It's whether it be Switzerland or where I'm from, or there's very much uh, an attitude of defense there. It's yeah. So one thing, it sounds like the country is very pro-capitalist now, or at least it's becoming more capitalist. Is that true? I mean, perhaps the most important thing I hear is it's actually a place where a lot of the academia is pro-capitalist, which is certainly not the case in America or Western Europe. Uh, you know,
Well, becoming capitalist as a country, we have declared that we are, as a country, right side country, not leftist, but right. But we are supporter of free market and etc. But Chris, what kind of situation is here? Nothing. We are not producing anything. You
yeah,
already mentioned it. Okay, we declare that we are a capitalist country, but all the credentials capitalist country needs to improve as a country, to improve capitalist values, to improve and get richer, we have nothing. In 2012, when this current government came, our GDP, which is one main indicator of how wealthy the country is, was improved, only doubled, only doubled in these 12 years. So yes, people want to be free here, and yes, maybe you will hear this kind of speech that it is very easy to do business in Georgia. No, it's not easy to do business in Georgia. I can say with all responsibilities. Opening some business and registering business is very easy, but doing business is not easy, because big businesses are still very close to government, and small businesses, they have so many taxes. I can understand that taxes and USA is very close friends, but countries like Georgia, where taxes are used only to politicals who are governing our country to get richer, and our money is going to their own pockets. In these circumstances, it's impossible to make any kind of justification of taxes. So we have so many taxes. We do not have any kind of advantages when someone is opening new business. We don't have any supporting activities or programs, or we are not inviting new business representatives in Georgia. So in such circumstances, um, yes, we are still declared as a capitalist country, but we are doing nothing to improve our value as a country and to get richer.
Yeah, one thing I remember was it would seem like it was very easy to rent a car there. You could just if you wanted to rent a car, you could just set up a shop somewhere and rent cars out, and it was actually very cheap as a result. Yeah, that was one thing I found. I don't know what it is, about if you want to start other businesses or, or or even get big industries there. It's because is winemaking one of your biggest industries there? Because I know you have a long history of winemaking.
Yes, but most curious thing is that production of wine in Georgia was connected only to Russia. To export wine products in Russia automatically means that it doesn't have any kind of quality. So we were producing wine, but this wine worth, how to say, a few dollars, maybe $1, $2, or $3 maximum. We didn't have. It just recent years we started to value of good wine and to make it to produce for USA and for European countries. But no, for example, if you have a wedding in Georgia, what we are doing, we should definitely contact to our most reliable relative who definitely knows that this family, and we have here family production of wine when you want to massive amount of wine, that this kind of family is producing really good wine without any additional stuff like sugar and other. Otherwise, no one is making good wine, unfortunately, as a massive production. But we have really valuable companies and brands, but this is not a big amount. Unfortunately, they are not. They are just producing for themselves, for their family, and to support small business or something like that. We don't have a big production for that.
Certainly. Where do you think things are going to go in 10 or 20 years? Do you think, I mean, there's some theories that Russia is going to collapse because Russia is becoming a very old country. I don't know if that's happening with you all either, but they're not having kids. And another factor, too, is that some of the best Russians are opposed to what's happening and they're leaving the country. I mean, you've probably got quite a few Russians living in Tbilisi, who are opposed to Putin. Is that true?
Yes, but mostly we have, yes, it was one period when there were too many Russians in Georgia who were escaped from the war because Russia wanted them to send to Ukraine. So that's why we were having them a few months. But Georgia is not very attractive for Russians. they need different kind of cities like Istanbul or something. They much more prefer Turkey, for example, Dubai, for example, and not Georgia. Yeah,
Maybe
not
if
for
they're
now. We don't have a big amount of Russian.
well, maybe yeah. Well, maybe it's just they want a bigger city because Moscow actually has more people than your entire country.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's why I think that they are too many. They are too many. So uh, I would not say that Russia's days are counted and
Yes.
Russia's life is over. No, they are too many, too many. So
True.
it's not easy. And most of them are like this, like-minded. All of them are still thinking that Russia is a really great country and they should uh, occupy countries around them because Russia is superior country or something, that kind of stupidity. So there are too many, and unfortunately, not new generation is better than their previous
Yes.
generation.
Well, there are a lot of Russian libertarians who went to Montenegro, and they're going to basically do a libertarian takeover of the country. At least that's what they're proposing. They call it Monte Libero. So I hope it works out for them because we have something similar happening here in the USA. But it's a
Yeah, yes, yeah, but they are very little amount, so their actions are
yes,
not very much influential.
yes. Well, at what a I never asked how did you get into all this activism? I should have asked you that at the beginning.
What do you mean?
I mean political activism and become a libertarian.
How did I manage or something?
How did you get into it? Where did you learn? When did you start?
Oh, good question. Thank you. Well, uh, I studied it nowhere. I was just born in this way. All the time when we didn't have light to watch TV or something, we had, we were calling it shifts when about 2 hours or 3 hours was electricity coming and after that going. And during this period, people were the only entertainment channel. It was Mexican serials and other serials, and I was waiting for TV shows about economics, about capitalism, and so
Yeah,
on. Around me, no one knew what was capitalism. I was asking to my mom and my dad, and they tried to do their best and to explain me what is export, what is import, what kind of people were living in the
yeah,
USA. I was all the time wondering about this, but I didn't have any kind of answers, and even they didn't have. Well, I think that I was born all the time. I remember myself. I was not the person who were leftist or very religious and very limited persons. All the time, the only line I had in my life was this kind of individualism. I don't know. I was just born in this way. All the time, I was interested in different things and stuffs. Yes, and after that, all these experiences and knowledge. Before, at the age of 20, I was thinking from my personal point of view. I was making conclusions from based on my values, but I had no idea are they right or wrong, because my parents, they didn't have answers, And as for me, I didn't have any kind of show accessibility to watch video or read books or etc. So I was just facing all the questions with no answers, but still I was keeping to live like this. And after the age of 20, some books were accessible for me, and after that, books. Also, I met really great people, and I was asking them. They knew already answers. And after that, yes, I concluded that yes, this is my style of life, and this is how I think, and this is how I want to be till the end of my life. I yes, and still I think that all and everything which is combined and collected as my values are the same as they were when I was 5 years old and 10 years old.
Yeah.
So, but firstly by myself, and after that meeting people, attending different conferences, and reading books. They helped
Yes.
me be to find my own way.
Yes, that's interesting. Before I go, I want to share one more picture that I'm sure you'll recognize, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about this photo here.
Okay.
I think
Oh,
you,
yeah,
yes.
of course, definitely. All Georgians know this photo. And
April
what? Let
9th.
me ask you, what do you know about this photo?
It was April 9th, 1989. I believe that a bunch of
Yeah,
demonstrators were all gunned down by the Russians, mostly young women.
yeah.
It's
By
not
the
the
way,
best.
not by the guns,
Yeah.
but in a terrible death they had as a personal tragedy. We can say that they were not shot, but they were uh, this spade, spade. They had this kind of spades, and
Yes.
people were killed by these spades. Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly, and among them, there were minors under 18 girl 16 years old,
Yes.
and pregnant women, and older age women. Oh yes, it was really terrible situation.
Yeah. That got a lot of emotion. I see. Well,
Yeah.
you would have been you would have been 5 years old. Is that something you can remember hearing people talk about? Because you have that event when you're really young, but sometimes if it gets talked about so much, you remember that day, or you remember something about it.
Yes, I remember about this. My consciousness. We all have that starting point
Yes.
when you remember something from your childhood. This is my starting point, so it's impossible me not to be as a politically aware person, or at least libertarian or something, because my consciousness starting its own vision from this fact. And when everyone around me were shocked, and everyone was talking about this fact, and from that time I knew what kind and how terrible Russia is, and that we should never go back to Russia.
Yeah, and hopefully you never will. I've heard some Irish people say, we fought, 300 years from independence from Britain, and now the EU tells us what to do all the time, so it's not any different. I
Mhm.
hope that you can still, be truly independent.
Chris, the main difference between you mentioned Scotland, or Scotland and
Yes.
Great Britain,
Well,
and
no, I mentioned Ireland. I mentioned Ireland,
Ireland.
right? Yeah,
Yes,
because
Ireland,
Ireland is a
Scotland.
completely separate island. Yes.
Yes. You know the main difference. What it is that with Britons, you can have any kind of dialogue. They are human beings, which is impossible with Russia. Russia is governed by some paranoid person. You cannot sit and
Yeah.
explain anything. and most Russians are following the same steps, and they have same thinking way. So it's completely different situations. Still, yes, they were, of course. There is no doubt, and history knows everything that they were very usual occupiers as Russia is, but it was always possible to have any kind of dialogue. And so from Russia's side, we don't have anyone, even we don't have a regular human being. So
Okay.
this is really, really big deal.
I hope they can. I hope Russia can figure it out, but I'm not that confident that they will.
Yes,
But
the
I
same point
but
from me.
I know a lot of great Russians, although they've all left Russia. So uh, anyway, well,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, of course, of course. Fortunately, there are a few but really brilliant persons, and
yes,
it unites not being Russian, but values. I think in
yes.
their case.
Well, it's been great having you on here. I loved having you on. Can you anything else you want to say before we go?
Well, thank you for your kind attention because. Yeah, it means a lot for us because we are isolated, really. And any kind of voice from abroad, from friends like you, it
Yeah. Mhm.
supports us. When you are fighting someone, even against Russia, uh, pure Russia, you feel how to say this fight and this war is a little bit valuable. But when you are fighting with the Russian soul, but against Georgian, fight is much more severe, and you are a person who think that you have values, you are standing on your values, you know what is better, and you know that someone is doing really bad things, and that person who is standing against you and can even kill you is also Georgian. To realize this fact, it really kills me. Yes, and I hope that soon situation will change, and um, I will promise you that I will again join you to discuss things differently.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I want to have this hope.
And you're just
So
on Facebook. You don't have a website or anything.
just Facebook. In Georgia, it's very famous to be in Facebook.
Oh,
The main platform is Facebook for us because we don't like read big articles and so on. And Facebook is very suitable for us. So everything we are posting in
okay.
Facebook. So I'm accessible there, and all my opinions are expressed on Facebook also.
And we see your lovely alphabet. So thank you very much, Lana. It's been nice having you on here. It's definitely worth a visit. Go to Tbilisi. Although I also hear, Batumi's really nice. Is what I hear, but I haven't been there. But it's on the sea, so and just
Yeah.
go see the mountains too. Yes. So thank you.
Yes,
Please
and
like.
yeah, accept my personal invitation in case you decide to visit to Georgia. Just count that, and you should feel as at your home, and I can just share our apartment, and just count that yes, someone very welcomed is waiting for you in case you will decide to come to Georgia anytime. Yes, anytime, and accept this personal invitation.
Thank you very much. Yes. Please like my novel, or please go buy my novel, Escape from the Village. Like the video, subscribe to the channel.
Okay.
Check out my infrequent Substack, and I'm Chris Baker. Thank you, Lana. We are out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.